Okay, so we've made some progress. I went ahead and got the air regulator and air solenoids mounted to the inner fender there, underneath where this is. Airline is just kind of floating right there, and when I need to weld, I can just do that. So I am kind of limited on space. I got to do what I got to do. I can trim these lines down a little bit. Right now I've got a loop in them. I haven't decided if I want to leave the loop for a little bit extra line just in case I have a snag at the back end, or if I want to cut them off. If I keep them, I'm going to zip tie them down out of the way a little bit. I also had to figure out what to do with the breather for the PSC power steering reservoir. And I didn't want to hang a bunch of stuff off of this bracket. This bracket was meant for just that reservoir, so just the welder on there. I don't feel terrible about it, but I don't want to start sprouting things off every side, and I don't really want that fluid breather right on top of this. So what I did was I put a couple of nutserts into the firewall, and this will bolt onto that. However, if you look at the way it's made, it sticks out on top almost flush with the bottom, with the mounting surface. That cap, let's see if I can get my finger in here, the cap is about the same depth as the mounting surface, and the main harness and whatever other junk I got in here is all running above that, so it's kind of making a flush mount not possible. Got some of this aluminum material, so I'm just going to make one more spacer, and that should be fine. Get some longer bolts. This isn't heavy. I mean, if this weighs 8 ounces, I'd be surprised. Add some fluid weight to it, whatever. But I don't have any real concerns about that. I don't want it up against the wiring harness where it's impossible to open the breather if I need to. Other than that, so we've got the airlines run, tested. Lockers are engaging front and rear. I've just got the stupid air horns rotated up out of the way for right now. I haven't decided to pull them out yet. What else? Oh, and I haven't wrapped up the power lines and what have you yet for the welder. I haven't done final routing because I'm getting a check gauges warning light on the dashboard, and when I run through the directions have test parameters to use a multimeter and check the voltages at each of these wires, and I'm not getting perfectly matching numbers with what they say is supposed to be. So it's Saturday. I don't know. I tried calling once and I got an answer machine or voicemail. So they may not be open today. And it's not the end of the world. I don't need to drive this weekend, and I'm on vacation this coming week. So I'll call Monday or Tuesday and talk to somebody over there that knows what they're talking about and find out if I have a problem. I mean, obviously I have some sort of a situation going on, but maybe they're going to tell me to check, and maybe my ignition on switched power isn't good enough, or maybe they'll tell me, oh, that always happens when a ground is bad, or that I need to ground a regulator or something. I don't know. Not going to worry about it until I talk to them and give them an opportunity to tell me what's up. But yeah, so far everything kind of fits. I can actually loosen those bolts up and slide this regulator down just a little bit, but everything kind of nice and stable and where it needs to be, and yeah. Oh, and I got the welding leads. I haven't tested them yet, and I'm not going to test them until I get the power situation figured out. So sometime next week, hopefully I'll be able to test welding. So, looking forward to it. Anyway, little by little we get everything done. It's kind of raining and junky out, so I'm gonna take that bracket inside the garage, duplicate it, and then I'm gonna run to the hardware store and get some bolts so I can wrap this up. Thanks. All right, we got that PSC vent or overflow capture all installed. I did end up putting a second spacer in there just to get it up off the firewall a little bit and give the wiring some room. And here's our setup for welding. You can see both leads go in there, no problem. The airline isn't an issue. These things don't seat all the way in. But they're making full contact. I have no doubt they'll work just fine once we get the electrical questions answered. So for now, everything is off, and I'll just clean this mess up for now. I do still have to do the throttle control. I haven't installed that yet. I have to figure out where that's going. I mean, the cable part of it has to somehow connect to the throttle body, and then I have to mount the knob somewhere. The easy answer may just be putting it somewhere right around here, just like right around here, and that might work. I was playing with the idea of having it in the cab as a cheater crawler throttle, but I don't know. I'm not sure I'm going to figure that out today. Weather's kind of gloomy. It's been on and off drizzling, and I've got everything under the hood in place well enough that nothing's going to get in the way of anything. The wires are ugly. They'll need a lot of attention. But the plan is call up Premier, figure out what my electrical gremlin is, and then pull the wiring all the way out. Maybe tape wrap it or something, loom it, whatever, and get a better run across the top there with the rest of the engine compartment harness. Maybe consolidate, cut out some of those extra zip ties and whatever. It's a trail Jeep. Predominantly a trail Jeep. So, anyway, I can't wait to test this, but I'm going to be patient and work with the support and figure out the gremlins before I break something badly. Okay, so I'm silly. I was looking through the box for the parts for the throttle control, and I found this in that box, along with a piece of paper that said that you can get some battery lights or whatever if this isn't connected, and that when you're welding, the light might come on. You may have to turn the engine off after wrapping up and it'll go away. So I plugged that in, turned the key, and sure enough the light's off. And I had turned it on and off and disconnected and reconnected the battery several times before that. So I am fairly confident that that was all it was. So I will have to find a home to wrap that up and zip tie it to something, but that means that I can do a little bit more testing and then go ahead and wrap things up and get the wiring the way I want it. Still not sure I'm going to do that today. I wouldn't want to get halfway through and have it start pouring rain, but that does make me feel better. So anyway, one more step down, and that just goes to show when you get something like this, unwrap everything. Find somewhere, some room to get everything unpacked, get it rolled open, figure out what you got, and then start tackling it. I should have done that in the first place. So, all good. Okay, here's where we got to yesterday. I modified this bracket, this piece right here. I needed to be able to get snuck in close to the air manifolds that these wires were kept off of it. I can take a little bit more off of there, and I probably will, because I do have to take this whole bracket back out and paint it. And I was hoping it was stainless, but I don't think it is. So I'll just pull that out and paint it. But anyway, when this is in tight, I don't know if you can see that, it avoids everything back there. It allows me to dial it in. It avoids the hood when it's closing. The cable routing, ouch, follows the routing of the cruise control module. Thank you. Can't think. So this is the vacuum booster for the cruise control, and this is where the cable comes out of that, and it routes around on top of the valve cover, comes back, and normally it would be using that section there. I moved it over one. It's a gentle curve. It should still work fine. And I put the controller or the cable for this controller for the throttle for the welder in there instead. I drilled a small hole in the bracket. It doesn't need an adjustable ferrule or anything like that, because it's not push-pull, it's only pull. It's going to have some sort of way of allowing slack or disconnecting at the throttle itself. Similar idea is on the cruise control. You can see that it has this slider and it just has a stop. Mine isn't going to be that fancy. I've got a couple of ideas in my head. It comes with a chain, the idea being that if it's using a chain to pull the throttle taut, when it's released, it's just slack chain, so it shouldn't cause any interference. How's it going? You can always add more throttle with the chain applying tension because it won't resist it. So if the chain got caught at 1500 RPMs, you could still accelerate above that. You wouldn't be able to drop the engine below 1500 RPMs. Now, this is a standard transmission, so worst comes to worst, I can always just put the clutch down. So I'm not too concerned there. Yep. What I'm thinking is I picked up a spring with an open loop at one end and a long hook at the other end. And what I may just do is put a stopper on here and hang the spring off of it instead of using the chain. And just when I'm welding, this would normally be mounted here. I can just hook it right there behind that and then apply tension and weld and then release it. The other idea is to use the chain. My only thing is trying to figure out how to affix the chain. I can do a couple of things. I could try to put some sort of a loop over that ferrule there, or that knob there. Or I could drill a small hole, put a bolt through right there, as long as it doesn't interfere with this. But you can see that's got a built-in clearance there. Steps that away pretty good. So I haven't quite gotten to the point of figuring that out yet. But I know for sure that I need to pull this bracket out and get it painted. So that's the next thing on the list. And I think I will go ahead and trim it just to make sure it stays away from these cables. So it doesn't have to be super stable. I mean, right now the controller is not even bolted into it, so it's wiggling around a lot, but it'll hold it. And it doesn't need to be super rock solid. It just needs to hold this housing so that I can turn the knob. As long as it does that, it's doing its job. It can wiggle. So I'm not too worried about that part. But here we go. Okay, we just officially laid our first very awful bead, but the welder works. And the poor quality is nothing to do with the welder. It's more to do with the fact that I haven't stick welded in years. But let's see if we can get this on video. Okay, this is what I came up with for the throttle cable. I got a spring with a big old hook on it. The cable's just kind of hanging out there. There's a stop on there that I put some blue Loctite on the threads, and it's doing nothing as far as restricting the throttle. Has absolutely no impact on the throttle until you start cranking out the knob. I'll start cranking that out and you can see it'll start pulling back, and it takes a good little bit of pulling before it starts acting, but that's fine by me. And then when you thread it back in, it has no impact. And that's exactly what I want. So I like it. I think that's very simple, easy design that'll work. Got the cabling, the wiring wrapped up, and I will have to do some sort of a power distribution solution over by the battery at some point, but not today. Today, I am going to enjoy my success. I got welded metal. I'm going to have to figure out how to pack all this stuff. And yeah, I still haven't taken the horns out. I did manage to re-break a vacuum line, so I'll have to repair that. Yeah, it's been broken once or twice before. So not really a travesty, but I should probably try to see if I can order a replacement. It's just age brittle. Anyway, I'm gonna clean some stuff up and lunch. So we are in pretty good shape with the LJ, with the off-road LJ. The other one has a lot of work ahead of it, but I've started to get some parts for it. I've got ring and pinions for it already, and 5/13 gear ratio, and there's a bunch of other stuff coming. Ring and pinions, and I've got the master install kits. One thing I do still need to fix on this is I'm gonna have to make another bracket. The other day I leaned on this fog light and I snapped that plastic. So I already made one out of metal for this one at some point. So I'll just have to do the same thing eventually. But anyway, progress has been made. little by little, things get done.
I didn't really record anything outside that was wrap up, so I just wanted to comment that it's been a few months now since the Premier Power Welder was installed in the Jeep. I've been on a few trips with it, have had no issues. I've put plenty of miles on the alternator and works great. Jeep runs great. I haven't had any more error lights since I realized I was being silly and didn't install one of the pieces. Welding power is great. I did weld a couple of small plates on my trailer for backup lights. I fixed my jack mount plate on the trailer when it got broken by dragging it up a road or a trail that it shouldn't have been on. And there was also a recovery at Field and Forest up north during Wheeling for Warriors. A friend of mine broke the steering on his buggy. He broke the mounting structure for the hydraulic cylinder. It's a full hydro steering setup, and he broke the tube right off the axle. So that was a situation where it was pretty thin wall, and there was somebody there that's a more experienced welder than me. So I turned the stinger over to him and let him go after it. But you know, because we had the tool available, my friend was able to drive his buggy out of the trail. We followed him all the way out, and it worked fine. So yeah, it's already been a valuable recovery tool. I mean, it was a buggy on a buggy line that broke his steering. So getting that thing out of there any other way than driving it out was gonna be ugly. Yeah, very happy that we got him out. So anyway, in summary, the install went well. I took my time on it, got it the way I wanted it. The only thing I might change is that spring I used for the throttle control. The spring isn't quite strong enough, so sometimes I'll get a little bit of RPM creep. So I may go ahead and just figure out how to use the supply chain. I just really have to figure out how I'm attaching it to the throttle. There's just wasn't a lot of real estate when I was setting it up, which is why I went the way I went. It was a little bit of a cheat. I'll figure it out. Not a big deal, I'm sure. So anyway, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, as they all say. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, corrections, listen, I don't know it all. I'm just playing with my toys. Go ahead and chime in and let me know what you think.